What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Okay, so there's this card called Breakthrough Skill, and I heard people talking about it on Duelist Grounds, and I think that it's definitely amazing and interesting, so I want to do a video on it. It's a normal trap from Cosmo Blazer, which is the newest set that's about to be released in the TCG, and the effect reads as follows. You can target one face-up effect monster your opponent controls, negate that card's effect during this turn. That sounds a whole lot like Effect Veiler, right? Well, for the most part it is, but here's where things get a little different. During your turn, except the turn that this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to target one face-up effect monster your opponent controls, negate that target's effect during this turn. Okay, so this card is flat out amazing. I think that it's going to be kind of on the level of a card like Phoenix Chain, maybe a little underrated by some, overrated by others. But ultimately, I think that it is going to have a place in the competitive meta. You have to notice initially the similarities between this and a card like Effect Veiler, and I don't want to make too much of a bold statement, but I honestly believe that this card has the potential to replace a card like Effect Veiler, depending on your ideology of how you look at hand traps in general. I've already done a whole discussion on that and why I believe that like a card like Phoenix Chain right now is superior to Effect Veiler. But you know, if you side with me, then this card might be a card that you would definitely consider using over something like Effect Veiler. Let's just talk about the first part of the card and you know how it is pretty much similar to a card like Effect Veiler. Now, Effect Veiler, obviously the benefits of that are A, hand traps are very difficult to counter because you can't use, you know, like spell speed 3 effects, counter traps to negate them, and B, since they're not on the field, they're very difficult to destroy, which means, you know, it's not like you can use spell or trap removal like an MST or something like that to hit the card before they activate it. But here's the thing that Breakthrough Skill offers over Effect Veiler. Breakthrough Skill can be used in the battle phase. That's very, very important because let's say you summon something like a Kabuzaz and maybe you have like a Sangan too, and you go Kabuzaz attack and your opponent drops like Tragoedia, and it's like, oh crap, well, you know, what do I do? Well, you can flip over Breakthrough Skill, target the Trago, and Trago will obviously lose his attack gain because he no longer has the effect, and Sangan can just run it over. Now with Effect Veiler, I mean, you'd be kind of in a world of hurt because you'd have to kind of like wait until your opponent's turn to potentially get the Trago off the field, and that might cause problems. And even if you use the Effect Veiler, it has to be before the battle phase, which means they can just do other things, like maybe they tribute it for a Caius or something like that, or who knows what. But I think that this card has a lot of versatility because it can be used in the battle phase, and that's all important. You also look at the fact that this card can be used twice. Like, look at the second effect. You know, granted, and this is one thing people have to know, you can't use the second effect on your opponent's turn, but it's still really, really good. Even though you can only use it on your turn, the first thing I thought about were, you know, the first thing that I thought about on using this card was for cards that offer lockdown. Cards like, you know, cards like Laggia and Dolkka, like it works really good against Exceed monsters. And the reason I say that is because Exceed monsters, they have to have materials on them, which means, you know, as long as they have those materials on them, you're kind of playing a cat and mouse bait game to try and get your opponent to get rid of those materials so it can kind of become just another monster. Generally speaking, a lot of those monsters are either offering themselves some type of protection or offering the player who controls them some type of protection. Cards like, you know, Gachi Gachi, Zenmaines, Utopia. Well, the thing about this is you can simply activate this on your turn. Oh wait, now your Utopia can't stop attacks. Oops, your Zenmaines and Gachi can't protect themselves. Okay, I think I'll just run them over now. You know, oh, you can't use your negates with Laggia and Dolkka. Have fun getting wrecked. You know what I mean? Like, this card offers something like that. It offers the ability to just turn those cards' effects off so that you can just do whatever you want to do against that player. Not to mention, since it activates from the graveyard, it's going to be ridiculously hard to stop. I also look at other lockdown cards. Cards like Gladiator Beast Heraklinos or Archlord Christia, Fossil Dyna, you know, cards that really can put they can put a lock on what you're able to do. And again, this card becomes uber important because uber good because it just allows you to negate that monster and just do whatever the hell you want to do. Now, another benefit that I like about this card over something like Effect Veiler is, let's say your opponent has Dimensional Fissure. We're going the whole dimensional macro argument. not only would you be able to activate the first effect where you can't use effect veiler at all, you'd be able to activate the second effect too, because this card would still go to the graveyard. Even if they had the almighty macro Cosmos, you can still activate this first effect. I don't know, how you'd ever get the trap back into the graveyard, but chances are if you did, then you're some type of wizard or something. But even if they had macro, you'd still be able to activate this card where you wouldn't be able to use a card like Effect Veiler. So I look at this and I think this card is definitely really, really good. I mean, if you could use the second effect on both players' turns, it would just be maybe uber stupid broken. So I think that it's definitely worth looking at. And it's also worth mentioning that in decks like Lightsworn and Chaos Dragons, decks that mill, this card could be very important too, because it could serve kind of as that role of a Necro Gardener, where it's like, I know my deck mills a lot, but if I happen to mill this card, I get a little more utility. Maybe I don't have to worry about, not being able to get over your 3,200, the Shining. Oops, I can just negate it. Now it's 2,600, attack over it for game or something like that. So let me know what you guys think. I think that this card is absolutely phenomenal. Hopefully they don't do too much of a job on us with the rarity bump so that it won't be that expensive. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.